We're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. Last week I promised our community that we'd work to provide information about critical incidents as soon as we could. Today I'm here to do that. The purpose of this community briefing is to provide information regarding an officer-involved shooting that took place on the evening of March 5th, last night. Before I get started, I first want to thank the Arkansas State Patrol and the Missouri State Highway Patrol for their assistance last night. I was in Arkansas with my family, and both patrols assisted in getting me back to Columbia so that we could do this briefing. I want to stress that this is a preliminary timeline of events. This is a very active investigation, and there could be minor changes to timelines and information as the investigation continues. Through an ongoing criminal investigation, officers found probable cause to arrest Curtis Haas, 34, of Columbia, for child molestation in the first degree. Here's a timeline of the events that took place during last night's incident. At 4:53 p.m., patrol requested assistance from the Street Crimes Unit. No contact had been made with Mr. Haas at this time. Patrol had requested the assistance because there was weapons information. 5:35 p.m., Street Crimes Unit arrives in the 1700 block of Sun Court. When they arrive, they see Haas attempting to leave in a vehicle. They tried to stop that vehicle and negotiate his surrender. Mr. Haas refused to cooperate and drove into the garage of a nearby home. After exiting his vehicle, he pointed a handgun at one of the officers and retreated back into the house. At 5:42, crisis negotiation team and the SWAT team were activated, and they responded with our Bearcat and the mobile command post. We also began to shut down traffic in the area. At 5:55 p.m., CPD began the process of clearing occupied cars and moving cars out of the area, as well as evacuating neighbors in the cul-de-sac. Nearby churches were also notified. 6:08 p.m., shots fired exchanged between the suspect from the upstairs window and the officers located outside of the house. Officers used department-issued .223 caliber rifles. The suspect had multiple firearms in the residence. During this time, CPD also began to hold perimeter and containment on the residence and continue the evacuation process. We were still attempting to make contact with Haas by phone and a PA system, and one officer did hear voices inside. 6:13 p.m., we requested mutual aid. We tried to get a drone from the county and a robot from our partners with MUPD and the fire department. 6:20, county and state assistance was requested for the outer perimeter. 6:39 p.m., contacted nearby churches again, and they went on lockdown. 7:20 p.m., breached the garage door of the residence with a Bearcat, but because of the configuration and the items in the garage, we were unable to gain entry with the robot through the garage. 7:35 p.m., a drone was used to go inside of the house and locate Haas. When the drone went inside, there was only a partial view, and all we could see was lower extremities, and we could not determine life status. 7:43 p.m., members of the Columbia SWAT team breached the front door. 7:51, the robot went in upstairs. When the robot went in, they determined that it was safer to do the entry. At 8:03, the high-risk entry was made by the SWAT team. And at 8:07, Haas was confirmed to be deceased by medics. There's also a large dog in the house that was secured with a catch pole and was put in a crate. At 8:21, the case was turned over to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. and CPD Internal Affairs. Excuse me. As we've described in previous processes, those are two independent investigations. One looks at policies and actions in accordance with our policies, and the other looks at the investigation as a whole. An autopsy will be completed early next week, as well as interviews of the officers involved. It's really important to note that guns were staged all throughout the residence and furniture was barricaded against the door. It was clear that he was preparing for this. Three officers who were involved in the exchange of gunfire have been placed on administrative leave per our department's policy. The officers involved in this incident were veterans. One officer has more than 15 years of experience in law enforcement. A second has more than 10 years, and the last more than 25 years. When incidents like this occur, it affects not only the families of those killed or injured, but the families of the officers involved. I'm thankful for the work that our officers do each day to keep our community safe. We don't take for granted the weight that the use of deadly force brings to bear. We're grateful for the assistance of the Missouri State Highway Patrol and all of our partnering agencies. And with that, I'll take a few questions.
Can you give us the correct spelling of the guy's name?
Curtis, C-U-R-T-I-S, Haas, H-A-A-S.
And are you saying that he died from shots from officers?
I know that officers fired into the residence at Haas, but at this time I can't say what killed him. Without an autopsy and the investigation from the Highway Patrol, we won't be able to say conclusively.
Chief, you say an incident like this affects the families of the officers. What did you mean by that?
None of us take this for granted, and the biggest fear is that we don't get to go home or we make some mistake, and families feel that stress. And I had 3 officers go home last night under that type of stress. We're here to protect people and keep people safe, and I believe they did, and I think they acted admirably, but that doesn't come without costs, and their families will be feeling that stress as well, just like Mr. Haas's family.
You said he went into a nearby home. Did he live there?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Chief, just so we're clear, you said there was an exchange of gunfire. Was it Mr. Haas that fired first upon officers before they returned fire?
That's correct.
Okay.
Are you talking?
No.
Do we have the age of Mr. Haas?
Yeah, I believe let me confirm it here, but I believe it's 34.
I mean, I also wanted to ask, this is the second officer-involved shooting. How is your department doing? How are you guys doing?
No, I have a lot of really good people that do good work every day, but this is stressful for all of us, and we're going to make sure that we do what we can through our chaplain program, our peer support program, our EAP program, to make sure that our officers are not just physically healthy, but mentally healthy.
How does this play into your violent crime task force project?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
How does this play into Mayor Treacy's violent crime task force?
This isn't, Mayor Treese doesn't have a violent crimes task force.
Well, he announced that there would be one earlier in the year.
There's a ATF task force, and they look into violent crime, but this was a response to someone firing at officers during a child molestation investigation. It didn't reach them, and I don't believe it will.
just so we're clear, is it standard procedure for officers to be placed on leave anytime they fire a weapon? Isn't that city policy? I mean, just because they're on leave, that's not to say there's anything funky about it. They would be on leave either way.
Right, leave doesn't indicate whether someone acted appropriately or inappropriately. It gives us time to determine, what facts and circumstances surrounded the use of deadly force.
That's all I'm trying to clarify.
Yes, sir.
And I know the police department has been struggling with staffing shortage issues with, I think, is it 6 officers now or 5 officers on leave from the 2 OISs? Is that putting a strain on the department?
Any officer being off is a strain on our department, but luckily we have people that are willing to step up and take on extra responsibility. I'm thankful for the people I have.
Did Mr. Haas have any prior engagements with Columbia Police? Was he known to you guys? Did he have any type of criminal history you can tell the public about?
I don't know an answer to that, Pat.
Okay.
What brought police to the 700 block?
If you could talk in the microphone, I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing.
What brought police to the 700 or 1700 block of Suncourt initially?
We went to locate Mr. Haas because he was wanted for a probable cause arrest for child molestation in the 1st degree.
Yesterday, we heard that that officers were sent there from a school. I guess a school had reported the child abuse. Can you explain more about that?
I'm not going to get into the specifics of a child molestation investigation.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all.